Hello there, and welcome to my very first public experimentation with time-based effects on the bodhrán. What am I talking about? And how did the grand experiment go? Well, there's only one way to find out. Let's get into it. For many, many years, I've wanted to start messing around with more effects on the bodhrán. A lot of us are at least passingly familiar with effects like EQ, compression, and reverb. If you want to get slightly technical about it, EQ is what's known as a spectral effect that is having to do with frequency spectrum, compression is a dynamic effect, and reverb is actually what would be known as a time-based effect, which is one of the things we're going to be talking about today. I've been using compression, EQ, and a bit of very subtle reverb for quite a while when I'm recording the bodhrán. In those cases, I'm really just trying to sweeten the sound of the drum using a bit of EQ, and I'm using compression to make the drums sit better and be a bit more present within the mix overall. I typically only use a slight bit of reverb just to kind of put the bodhrán in a room, as opposed to just having it be completely dry and dead sounding. So, I was going along, using effects sparingly, and then enter Dave Boyd. If you're not familiar with Dave, he's a composer and sound designer for theater, dance, film, and television. And he also happens to be one of the most innovative and unique bodhrán players on the scene today. I was extremely lucky to have been one of the guest presenters for a multi-week Zoom workshop on the bodhrán and technology for the Kentucky Irish Music Academy recently. This was a totally great experience for me teaching something that I'm so passionate about. And more importantly for me, one of the huge fringe benefits was that I got to see Dave's class as well, which was all about using time-based and modulation effects on the bodhrán, basically to essentially create your own solo works. Dave presented both hardware and software methods to affect the bodhrán, and I decided to go with the software route for me. I used mostly effects that are built into Logic Pro, so I used the ring shifter and the stereo delay on aux ends, along with the normal studio FET compressor and the channel EQ that I pretty much always use. If you want to see a video about those things, click on this one up here and that'll take you to a more detailed version of what I do for my normal bodhrán processing. I also used a very heavy dose of UAD's pure plate reverb on the drum, and I also sent the ring shifter and the stereo delay some of that reverb as well. So basically using a reverb on top of another effect. I want to say thanks to Dave for the idea to do that as well. There's two things that Dave pointed out that I found to be 100% true when I started playing around with these effects. The first thing being that because these time-based effects are literally playing off the notes and rhythms that you play, any and all inconsistencies in your playing are going to be amplified by the plugins. Now I definitely noticed that when I started messing with these. A cool thing is that the delay, as well as the ring modulator, act a lot like a click track, but with your own rhythms, so I never ended up turning the click track on when I was playing these things. The second thing is that the tipper choice makes a huge difference in the overall sound. The plugins are super sensitive to velocity as well as the tone that's coming out of your drum. I ended up just kind of freeform soloing with a bunch of different sticks, and I kind of let the sounds I was getting steer the ship as far as what I decided to play. I'll put timestamps down in the description below so that you can jump to each different tipper and see how they affected the sound. If you want, please let me know in the comments which stick or sticks you like the sound of the most. Alright, so I'm done pontificating now, let's jump into the playing.